Hey, Ric Bucher's joining us now. Talk Warriors versus Joker. Steph's still recuperating, 34 points in 23 minutes off the bench. Meanwhile, Joker, teed up in the third quarter. So you know what? One tee's okay, but you know what's better? Two tees. Then he gets teed up again in the fourth. He's gone. Looks like Denver might soon be as well. So Nick, just two bad games for Joker? Or the Warriors exposing the reigning MVP?
They're obviously exposing him for those that needed him to be exposed. For folks that have been in denial about who Nikola Jokic is. And Nikola Jokic, let me be clear here, is a great player. But he has been elevated to a place he has no business being. And he's now lost 6 playoff games in a row. In 2 of the last, by the way, 3, he's been thrown out of them because he's been so frustrated. This game, Draymond Green ate his lunch money all game long. And Rick, there has only been one other MVP in modern NBA history that was not expected to get out of round 1. Russell Westbrook in 2017. Because one of the things I'm seeing is, what did you expect? You can't expect the Nuggets to win, which is one of the reasons why we typically don't give the MVP to teams that are underdogs in round 1, because MVP usually, is valuable, supposed to be about winning. But the one other guy who got it because he had these gaudy numbers, at least Russ, come those playoffs, showed out. At least Russ in that playoff run, the final 4 games were all decided by 6 points or less. They won one of them, and he averaged 37, 12, and 11. So he gave you regular season Russ and then some. It's like, okay, at least he gave us what we should have expected. Jokic, his points are down, his rebounds are down, his assists are way down, and his field goal percentage, which I was told is part of his brilliance. It's one of the most efficient scorers we've ever seen. 58% in the regular season. Well, he's at 47%. Maybe it would have gotten a little higher in garbage time yesterday if he hadn't been thrown out of the game. So, yeah, I just don't know how anybody could watch these playoffs and be like, yep, that's the best player in basketball. That's a guy who deserves to be on a list of the 11 greatest players ever, plus Steve Nash, 2-time back-to-back MVPs. It's just an absurdity. It's just an absurdity. And I know it's annoying for America when I'm right about things, but I've never been more right about anything than I am about this right here. And I've been right about a lot of times.
No. Nick, I knew we were in trouble when you started off with the kind, gentle voice. It's not Nikola's fault. No, this is where to start. First of all, saying that he's an MVP, a regular season MVP, is not suggesting that he's the best player in basketball. And struggling against the Golden State Warriors, a defending champion team or a previous championship caliber team that is demonstrating that it may be championship caliber again, as Chris Broussard noted earlier in the show, is not an indication that Nikola Jokic is suddenly falling off. What has been exposed is, number one, that Jordan Poole is a legitimate star. He is replicating what he did in the regular season in the postseason. Now, when you're so loaded with talent that you can bring a Steph Curry off of the bench, it's an indicator of how lopsided this matchup ultimately is. But what's being exposed is how awful the Nuggets are outside of Nikola Jokic. Aaron Gordon is invisible. He's getting punked by everybody in sight. Who's their next best player right now? Monte Morris is getting beat on a baseline drive and then slamming the ball off of the stanchion and adding a tee to it. DeMarcus Cousins is getting kicked out of the game. Is Jokic playing well? I mean, what's that?
Is Jokic playing well?
What's that?
Is he playing like an MVP?
Is he playing like an MVP? He's playing about as well as I would expect him, considering who he's playing against. No. Look, you're playing against... Who did Russell Westbrook play in the first round? Did he play against a championship caliber team in the first round? That's what... What's that? Okay. That's not even a championship caliber player, much less a championship caliber team. Ooh. The Golden State Warriors are demonstrating that they are potentially for real. And the Denver Nuggets, I'm just looking at, look, I was at both games. I'm looking at all of the pieces around Nikola Jokic. Nobody's hitting threes. The Golden State Warriors basically said, you know what? We're taking away all the back cuts. We're going to make you beat us shooting threes. The Denver Nuggets are a middle-of-the-pack team when it comes to shooting threes. And the Warriors are lighting it up. Multiple guys are lighting it up. So is Nikola Jokic playing great? No. But am I going to put what's happened in the first two games at the feet of Nikola Jokic or suggest that he didn't deserve MVP consideration during the regular season because of how the Golden State Warriors are taking apart the Nuggets? I'm not going to use this as a referendum that Nikola Jokic is not as good as some people think he is. He wasn't at the top of my MVP ballot, but he was certainly on it, and nothing that I've seen in this series would suggest that he didn't deserve to be.
Well, look, Rick, I agree with a lot of what you said, but I wouldn't say that the Nuggets supporting cast is getting exposed because this is what I expected. I mean, they're a 6 seed for a reason. I don't think they could play with Golden State with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., but they certainly can't play with them without them. So what I'm seeing in these, as far as the two teams, is not surprising at all, especially with the emergence of Jordan Poole, and now that takes the Warriors to another level. What I think is being exposed, though, is the overvaluing of analytics by a lot of media today, and to some degree Nikola Jokic, because he's great. He was third on my ballot. That's probably around where he was on yours, Rick. But I never once during the season really strongly considered him to win my MVP vote. Just because they're a 6 seed, and when I watch it, I think analytics are best when it's coupled with the eye test, and then you throw in intangibles is really important. And I think Jokic may have the intangibles, but the eye test, he's not as dominant as Giannis and Joel Embiid. And what is really bothering me, I'm not going to kill Jokic. He's averaging 26, 10, and 6 assists. Okay, and he's playing with a team that can't compete with the opponent. So I'm not going to kill him. But one thing that is incredibly disturbing to me about Jokic, Wilds, is his inability to expose Draymond Green. And I know Draymond is an all-time great defender, but he's half a foot smaller than Jokic. Jokic has shot 6 for 25 against Draymond this series. 6 for 25. How is that happening? Could Draymond Green hope to guard Shaq down low? Or Hakeem? Or Patrick Ewing? Or David Robinson? No. And what you're seeing, or Embiid, is Jokic, and it's not a surprise, but his inability to get any lift is just, it's eye-popping when you got somebody really defending him tough, even though the guy's 5 inches shorter. And that's what Jokic should be doing, is he should be able to exploit Draymond in the post, and he's not doing it. That's what bothers me about him, how he's playing.
So let's stick with this Draymond play. Rick, is your take that when Joker sort of goes and thinks he gets fouled here, I guess? I mean, Draymond kind of hits his arm. Joker then yells at the rest. I had Dusty pull the numbers. I'm like, hey, is Joker like not getting as many calls? Dusty's like, no, about getting the same amount of calls. Do you think Joker was more frustrated with how he was being how he's being refereed, or do you think he was just frustrated with the state of the team and the state of his playoff performance?
I would say it's more the frustration of the team that it's feeding into what's going on here. Look, Draymond is, I got to give Draymond a lot of credit. He is so good at this, and he does this with all kinds of bigs. He finds ways to bother the heck out of you without, making it obvious that he's being physical with you. He won't hit you hard. He'll wrap his arm around your waist. They won't call that foul. And I will say, and I don't want to make excuses for Jokic, he's a finesse player in the post. Generally, what makes him good is when he can operate from the elbow or he can operate up top, a lot like Draymond Green, and be a passer. He's not a natural on the block type scorer, and that is what's being exposed here. So, but I think his frustration is overall that I'm not able to be the playmaker that I usually am and being able to utilize everybody else. And as a result, we're getting run. And you've got people like Nick Wright who are going to say, I'm terrible because my team is getting run.
No,
so
see,
I'm sure that's on Nikola's
that is
mind
not
as well.
accurate. I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm asking how low have we set the bar for a back-to-back MVP? That's all I'm asking. Because Rick said, he's like, oh, just because you win MVP doesn't mean you're the best player in the league. That's true. Kevin Garnett wasn't the best player in the league. Barkley wasn't. Malone wasn't. But winning back-to-back MVPs does mean you're the best player in the league, except for when Steve Nash did it.
No.
And now except for when Nikola Jokic does it. No. Yeah, okay, no, we agree.
This is like a Nick Wright. When did this become a Nick Wright rule? Like, since when did we just establish that? Who has ever said that?
Just tell me, because here's who did it. I don't know. The voters over the last 75 years, because Bill Russell did it when he was the best, Wilt did it, Kareem did it, Moses did it, Bird did it, Magic did it, Michael did it, Duncan did it, Nash did it, LeBron did it, Steph did it, Giannis did it. Now the whole
Giannis wasn't the best player in the league.
is oh, okay. Well, sure seems like it.
Giannis wasn't the best player in basketball.
And by the way, Giannis